When I say the Quran verifies itself, what I mean by that is there are facts in the Quran that have, in the last 100 years or so, have been verified by science, and there are so many of them that it's impossible to deny the authenticity of whose words those are in the Quran, because they're not the words of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. They're the words of Allah, God, the one true God, one God. Who else would know all the details except for the one that created them, right? So when in the Quran it talks about the sun and the moon floating in their own orbits. Now, we didn't know that the sun and the moon had their own orbits, and they also orbit around our galaxy until about 1,000 years later, after Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, relayed to us the words of Allah. We didn't know that. It's a fact. How about the science proven fact that all of the living things in the world are based in water, that we are all made in water? And now we know that the body is more than 70% water or 60% water, and vegetables or fruits or plants or any other living thing, they're mostly made of water. But the constant thing is that we're all made from water. The main ingredient is water. Looking at yourself in the mirror, you would never think that you're 60% plus water, right? We didn't know that. Yeah, we know it now. Even the brain is more than 70% water. Who knew that? So when you read things like that, those are the kind of things that verify them as the words from God. How about the Big Bang? The Big Bang, they want to believe that it's some theory that we've all came up with to explain how we came to be here. But the Quran is in line. It doesn't go against the Big Bang. It's in keeping with how we came to be, because Allah explains the Big Bang and how he created everything. All you have to do is look for it. How about in the study of geology? How about when Allah talks about the mountains, that the mountains are built to stabilize the earth, and they are described as pegs or stakes in the ground. And now we know that that actually is a fact, that the mountains do stabilize the ground. How do they do that? Well, the mountains that you see with your eye also extend in a downward direction, and oftentimes 10 to 15 times the height of a mountain is the opposite of what's in the ground. Imagine Mount Everest, the height of Mount Everest, at least that height, or 10 to 15 times more, is buried into the ground, and that is how the earth gets stabilized. Just like when you see new roads being built and they have slopes on the side, and they put trees or they put grass, those are the roots that stabilize that ground. Well, the mountains work in the same way, but in the larger picture. Understand? But this was in the Quran. This is not information that we just we knew. This is information that we know now because of special equipment that we use to scan the earth. How about embryology? How about the process of how the 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 sperm and the egg, how they help each other to create an embryo, and how the process of the embryo, the process that the embryo goes through in order to become a baby, and how the baby is created inside the womb in the order that it's supposed to be, in the order that it actually is created. That's how it's described in the Quran. So in embryology, things that we didn't even know until about 100 years ago, because we didn't have the type of equipment or magnification or the type of scanning equipment that you would need in order to see that kind of thing. You can't just do it on a cadaver. You can't just take slices of a human and find out what the processes of the fetus and how they developed, those are all described in detail in the Quran. And so when I say to people, don't bother making comments on my videos about things you don't know, because I'm not interested in hearing some negative things that you've excerpted and cherry picked out of the Quran to make Islam look bad. It just makes you look bad. It makes you look ignorant, that you are trying to put this idea, this kind of narrative out there, but in the end, it just makes you look like the ignorant, uneducated person that you actually are, and hateful on top of it too, because you are willing to do all of that, but you can't be bothered to read the Quran. Read the Quran. That's a challenge for you. If you want to prove that the authenticity of the Quran, which people better than you and far more qualified have done so and found it without any problems, go ahead. Go and read the Quran. I challenge you to read the Quran from beginning to end and come back and tell us all about it, about all the things that you've discovered about the Quran that are negative, please. But I just don't want you to waste your time making these long comments in my comment section that are negative, that have no positive value, that I will delete. I just don't want you to waste your time. It's actually for your own benefit. In Islam, Allah wants us to be thinkers, to be critical thinkers. Allah doesn't want us to follow does not want us to follow our ancestors blindly. He wants us to confirm for ourselves and have our own faith intact because we've actually used our brain, than to follow randomly the family members, your mom, your dad, your grandma, just because that was the religion of your forefathers. Allah wants us to read the Quran and have our own information. He doesn't want us to be blindly following, people. He wants us to have the values and ethics and critical thinking of what a Muslim is supposed to be. Okay, so I encourage you to read, because that is the first word in the Quran. Reading is very important. Education is very important. And those are all very important for both men and women. It's not just for men, okay? It's for both men and women. For those people who are here to find their own person, a person who goes through the same issues or the same questions as I welcome you here, and I hope that I can find through this channel people that are with the same ethnic background as myself, because it's very rare to find Greek Muslims. We're like unicorns, and so I would like to befriend as many of them as possible, and this is mostly for them. Now you might think, why am I not saying this in Greek? Well, Greek is I do speak Greek. However, it's not my most comfortable language. I don't speak it as fast, and I don't speak it as eloquently as I do in English, because I speak English every single day. So occasionally you might see some Greek episodes, but it's not easy. Okay? Anyway, I will see you guys again on the next episode. Assalamu alaikum.